Fame. I'm Tony Martin. I'm the president of the advisory board, and I'll be your host this evening. Thank you for coming. I would like to thank our event sponsors, John and Jennifer Ruley. They're the primary event sponsor, donating $25,000 to the business school. John has been a member of the advisory board since 2002, and he was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2006. John, as always, thank you. John Leslie. John is a gold sponsor. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2010. And then finally, Dixon and Hughes. They're the silver sponsor. Thank you. I would also like to thank the table sponsors, and I'll read through those lists now. BB&T, Brick Street, 2 tables. Dixon Hughes Goodman, Lanham O'Dell and Mark Chandler, Mike Gerber, Carol Hartley, and Jim Rohr. Carol, so nice to see you tonight. Jabo Supply, Hayflick, West Virginia Chamber of Commerce. Steve, I don't know how that happened. State Electric, Steel of West Virginia. Cabell Huntington Hospital. Christy, thank you for coming. St. Mary's, Brad Smith, Huntington Federal Savings Bank, Mountain State Insurance, and finally Dick Tutwiler. Thank you, table sponsors. I would like to now recognize some special guests, starting with our president, Dr. Jared Gilbert. Thank you, sir. As usual, the president has pulled rabbits out of his hat yet again. His schedule has been so full, but like Batman or Superman, he managed to get here in record time. Thank you, sir. Dr. Gail Ormondson, our provost. Dr. Ron Area. Lance West. And the dean of our engineering school, Dr. Zatar. Thanks, Doc. We also have one of our associate deans, Jeff Archibald. Thank you, Jeff, for coming. We have previous deans of the engineering school, starting with Bob Alexander. Dr. Alexander, thank you. Dr. Kent, Cal, I saw you there, thank you. Dr. Ken, thank you, sir. And finally, Bob Simpson. Thanks, Bob. We have a couple of members of our Board of Governors here tonight. David Hayden, I think you're here for the Board of Governors. Phyllis Arnold and Gary White. That's fantastic. Okay, I want to take just for a second, and I want for the previous inductees of the Hall of Fame, if you're in the room, please stand up. Mr. Heiner, come on now. Ms. Heiner, I know, come on. Thank you. I'd like to ask any of the faculty that are in the room, please stand up. Thank you. With your capable hands, we send out prepared children from this university. Thank you. I'd like to ask any of the Marshall students that are here, please stand. Great job. Okay. For the current advisory board, my colleagues at the advisory board for the business school, please stand. And finally, for those that are out there that are a subset of our advisory board, the committee that puts this on every year. If you would please stand. If you're on the Hall of Fame committee, please stand up. Okay. We have the inductees to go through, and that's going to be a great evening. But I think since we're talking about putting this event on, I would be beside myself if I did not recognize two ladies who make this happen every single year. Molly, Sandy, please stand up. Without those two ladies, this would not happen every year. I promise you that. And I think Avi, Dean Mukherjee, would tell you that they keep him out of trouble 24/7. Just a short note here before we go forward. For the table sponsors, the centerpiece is yours to take with you. And there's also a keepsake sitting at each placement. Please remember to take that with you. For those sponsors, the table sponsors that are not represented here, Molly and Sandy and the staff will make sure that that's sent on to the sponsors themselves. Okay, finally, before tonight's festivities, I would like to ask you to each charge your glass. Charge your glass, please. I would like for you to join me in a toast to our 4 incredible inductees this year. Those 4 inductees are Greg Burton, Jim Dayton, Joe Holly, and Steve Roberts. Hear, hear. Okay, so now this is when it gets interesting. It is my honor to introduce our first inductee tonight, Mr. Greg Burton.
For Greg Burton, success is all about working with the right people at something you're passionate about. He's been able to do just that over the course of his career, after earning a bachelor's degree in business from the University of Charleston and a master's degree in business administration from the University of Kentucky. Today, he has more than 30 years management experience in the insurance and financial services industries and in both state and local government. Early in Greg's work life, he realized that he liked to fix things. As city manager for Charleston, for instance, he addressed $1 million shortfall in the city's pension plan. In his biggest fix to date, he helped successfully reform the West Virginia workers' compensation system. When Greg was named Executive Director of the West Virginia Workers' Compensation Commission in 2003, it was losing roughly $1 million per business day with an unfunded liability of more than $3 billion. Through the efforts of Greg's team, the program was privatized in 2006 to address its challenges, creating Brick Street Mutual Insurance Company, the state's first private workers' compensation carrier with Greg as president. Greg served as Brick Street's president and CEO through 2015, when he began serving solely as CEO. In 2016, Brick Street announced plans to affiliate with Motorists Insurance Group. Greg took on the role of executive chairman of Motorists Insurance Group when its affiliation with Brick Street closed in April 2017. And he continues to serve as executive chairman of Brick Street's board of directors. Greg enjoys giving back to his home state through his engagement with a variety of organizations. He serves on the West Virginia Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, West Virginia School of Osteopathic Medicine Board of Directors, and the Radford University Board of Visitors. He was on the board of directors for the Clay Center and has supported his wife Kim with her heavy involvement with the YWCA of Charleston. Greg has also helped oversee the creation of the Brick Street Scholars Program at West Virginia State University, Shepherd University, Marshall University, and the School of Osteopathic Medicine. In his free time, Greg enjoys spending time with Kim, their 2 sons, and their 4 grandchildren. For his committed fight for the people and institutions of our area and our state, we're extremely pleased to welcome Greg Burton as a new member of the Marshall University College of Business Hall of Fame.
Greg Burton, floor is yours, sir.
Well, what a great honor. I'm very humbled to receive that. Mark Chandler told me that I could talk for 40 minutes, and so I had an awful lot to say about my wife, but given the pictures that she gave for this, it's going to be a very short conversation. First, I want to congratulate the other honors, Jim and Joe, for their great honor, but also and Steve Roberts. It's very humbling for me to be part of this group with Steve, given over the last 15 years I've been able to work with Steve on our board, but also prior to that, he was very, very instrumental in getting workers' compensation fixed in West Virginia. So I wanted to give him a round of applause for all of his help in doing that. Also on our board, and he's here today, is Kevin Craig. I think a lot of you all know Kevin, and in his days as in the House, he was very instrumental as well to helping on workers' compensation. So thank you, Kevin, for all your work. Over the past 12 years, I've been very fortunate and very humbled to work for a company, Brick Street Insurance, that on the direction of our board, we set up a foundation to give back to the communities which we work and live in. And one of the best partners that we've been able to do that with is Marshall University, whether it's working with Ron and Lance in the foundation, or working with IMG through the athletic department. And Mike over there is athletic director. It's always great to be able to give back. I want to thank also President Gilbert and Dean for all their help as well. Also, as I reflect on my career, I wanted to share with you how blessed I am to be here tonight and some of the key reasons why I am so blessed. First is a decision that I made in 1978, working with a lot of great people, having 5 great mentors in my life, and a high school basketball game in 2003. I'm sure that each of you can relate in times in your life where you make decisions. You don't know quite, when you make those decisions, how they're going to help shape you in your life as you go forward. And one of the best decisions I made happened when I started dating in 1978 and then married an extraordinary woman, my wife Kim. She's the most loving, unassuming, and giving person that I know. She's blessed me with 2 wonderful kids, Nicholas, who isn't able to be here today, and Nathan, who is here, who have become great men and have raised great families. Without Kim's guiding hand and the support of my 2 kids, I wouldn't be able to stand here before you tonight. So I want to thank them for all their love and support. And then the choices I've made throughout my career, I've always enjoyed a challenge. And with those challenges came a great reward. And that reward is being able to work with some great and talented employees and staff. Some of them who are here tonight, and I want to thank all of you all for coming and helping Brick Street be very successful. Without them, we would not be able to be as successful as we are. I want to just take a minute and thank the 5 people who've been mentors in my life as I've gone through my career. First was Tom Bullock. Some of you all may remember Tom from Huntington. He was the CEO of Charleston National Bank when I worked in the banking industry. Tom taught me a couple of things. One, people make mistakes and they deserve a second chance. He gave me my second chance when I first started there. I made a couple of mistakes, and he was always there to help me and give me a second chance. He also taught me that you need to work hard, but you need to have fun at work. And you also need to treat your employees like family, and that's what we try to do at Brick Street. Next is Charleston Mayor Jay Goldman. Working with Mayor Goldman over the years, I learned that in some positions you got to make those tough choices. You got to make those tough decisions, and that at times saying no is the best answer, but it's also one of the toughest answers that you can do. We had a lot of things that we had to say no to in Charleston when I was city manager. Next is Governor Bob Wise. I worked for Governor Wise as Secretary of Administration starting out, and I'll tell you a story about him in a few minutes. But I think he doesn't get the credit that he deserves for fixing workers' compensation. 2003, 2004, he pushed through legislation. Without that legislation, we would not have been able to privatize workers' compensation. But he also taught me that you need to go out and hire smart people, smarter than you, let them do your job, and it's surprising how they'll make you look like you're a great leader. It wasn't very hard for me to find people smarter than me to go out and hire, but I've always appreciated a lot of the hard work that they've done for me. Next is Skip Tarson. Skip was the first chairman of the board at Brick Street. We had a lot of challenging times as we first started Brick Street. But Skip was always very positive, always there with a lot of help. He taught me about loyalty, doing the right thing no matter what the consequences were. Next is collectively the board of directors at Brick Street, led by Tom Flaherty, Marty Becker, as I mentioned, Kevin Craig, Dave Rader, Steve White, and Steve Roberts. Without them, Brick Street would not be as successful as they are today. So a lot of times I've been asked, how did you start in the insurance industry? You had no experience. So it happened in 2003. I was on a bus ride with Governor Wise to Williamson, West Virginia. If you recall those who were around when Governor Wise was governor, he had a lot of floods happen in the state, particularly in Williamson and other southern parts of the state. So I was with him on a bus ride. He called me to the back of the bus and he asked me, do you want to go over to workers' comp and run workers' comp? As the video indicated, we were losing $1 million a day and had a $3.5 billion unfunded liability. My first question to him was, what the hell did I do to make you so mad you want to put me in charge of something like that? So I told him I'd think about it. So as I mentioned, I have two sons, Nick and Nate. And they were fortunate enough in 2003 to make the high school basketball tournament. And they went to Charleston Catholic. And Nathan, being the aggressive kid that he was, fouled out of the game. There's a referee there that called 4 out of the 5 fouls on Nathan. I happened to be sitting with a friend of mine who knew the ref. He leans over to me and says, Greg, that ref that called 4 of the 5 fouls is on workers' compensation. In fact, he has a permanent total disability. So I don't know about you all, but if you're permanently total disabled, how are you running up and down the court calling fouls on my son and fouling them out of basketball? How are you doing that? So my wife looks at me and says, the decision is made. You're going to take that workers' comp job, and you're going to go after that referee who fouled my son out of the basketball tournament, and you're going to get him off of workers' compensation. So being the husband that I am and listen to my wife and everything she tells me to do, I took that job. I did try to get that referee off of workers' comp, but I could not do that. So because of all that, I'm here today, and again, this is a great honor. Again, I appreciate you all doing this for me. And in closing, I want to thank you again for this great honor. I accept this on behalf of all the employees of Brick Street who have worked tirelessly over the past decade to make a difference in the state that we've lived and worked in. Thank you very much.
So as you go into Corbally Hall, if you've never noticed, I hope you have, that on both sides of the display cases are displayed all of the inductees. So our first tonight's Greg. Now, I want to, while he's up here, share one real quick story with you about Greg Burton and Dr. Gilbert. Last year, right after this event, I called his office and I said, Pam, I need to schedule the president for next, you pick a date, in April. And Pam's like, really? This is a president's schedule. Yes, I want you to pick it. Because for 4 years we've voted this guy in and couldn't get him in. So Dr. Gilbert, it's his fault. Ladies and gentlemen, our second inductee tonight is actually a fellow advisory board member with me, Mr. Jim Day.
Jim Dayton is a seasoned executive with significant experience in the pharmaceutical, life sciences, and biotech industries. For more than 30 years, he's been a successful CEO, director, and executive in companies throughout the United States, Europe, and Asia. He has also completed more than 60 complex transactions, including venture investments, buyouts, acquisitions, mergers, IPOs, licensing, and partnership agreements. Jim is a Marshall University graduate. He earned his bachelor's degree in business administration here in 1985. He went on to receive his executive MBA from the University of New Haven and an advanced management degree from the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. Today, he is president and CEO of BioAgilytix Labs, a leading global bioanalytical contract research organization. Under his leadership, the company's customer base has grown by over 400%. Its revenue has increased by 500%, and its employee retention rate has remained at over 90%. During Jim's tenure, BioAgilytix was named to the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing private companies in America in 2013, 2014, 2016, and 2017. It's also been nominated 5 times by its employees as one of the best places to work in North Carolina. Before joining BioAgilytix, Jim was Executive Vice President and Managing Director at Safeguard Scientifics, Inc., where he led the deal investment team. During his tenure, 3 of Safeguard's partner companies went public on the NASDAQ, while others were acquired by strategic buyers such as Eli Lilly, McKesson, and GE Healthcare. Those moves generated more than $640 million for the company. Jim serves as a board member at BioAgilytix, as well as at Life Sciences PA, the Cramden Institute, and the North Carolina Biotechnology Center. He is also a member of the advisory board at the Marshall University School of Business. He served for 5 years as chairman of the board at Clariant, a cancer diagnostics company that was eventually acquired by GE Healthcare, and was a board member at Laureate Pharma, where he increased company revenue by over 500%. Jim is married to Sue and is father to Jack and Sam. We applaud Jim's long history of leadership, innovation, service, and success. Please join us in welcoming him to the Marshall University College of Business Hall of Fame.
Well, I'd like to hire whoever creates those videos. That's quite an introduction. It's going to be hard to follow that. It's a real honor to be here this evening, to be part of a group that has accomplished so much. A group that has given Marshall so much, and Marshall so much to them. Today is about family. I'd like to thank the Marshall family for this honor. My own family deserves much of the credit for getting me here today. I owe everything, like most of us in this room do, to our parents who made so many sacrifices, gave us so many experiences, encouraged us to take chances and not just get by. My parents, Tom and Helen Dayton, were those people who did everything they could for their kids in putting us first. To my brothers, Joe and Bill Dayton, who will be best friends for life. To my wife, Sue, of 22 years. I promised her to show her the world when we met. Little did she know that we'd live on 3 continents in the first 5 years. It's been an adventure ever since, and we've enjoyed every day of that. Like many of us in the room, our professional lives require a lot of travel and time away from home, and Sue has been the heart and soul of our family. Certainly family and faith are the most important milestones and centerpieces of our family, and I hope yours as well. My sons, Jack and Sam. Jack couldn't be here today, but at age 16, he suffered a severe accident. He faced it head on. He didn't let it stop him from becoming a top student and world citizen. Today, he's thriving as a first-year student at Northwestern University in Chicago. I keep hoping he's going to come to his senses and consider transferring to Marshall one day. My other son, Sam, is with us here as well. Sam's a freshman in high school. He continues to work towards his dream of playing intercollegiate soccer like his old man did one day. With a little luck, Sam may end up here protecting the net at Marshall one day. And to my Marshall family, some of these names may not resonate. They're going back 30-some years ago, but Nell Bailey, Don Robertson, Steve Hensley, Pat Brown, Sam Hood, Jack DeFazio, Michael Bordeaux, and Bob Alexander. Bob, thank you for your patience 30-some years ago. These are just a few of the names of people that had a positive impact on me and allowed the Marshall magic to happen. You know, when I think back of 30-some years ago, whether it be on the soccer field, in the classroom, fraternity house, residence hall, or campus activity, this was and will always be a very special place to me, a place that I will always call home. I had the good fortune to make one of my best decisions to attend Marshall 37 years ago. The experiences and learnings that I had here were deep and lifelong. It was then and remains today not too far from home, not too big, not too small. A thriving campus with numerous activities to do. A beautiful part of the country, and I recognize that driving up from Chapel Hill today again. A strong athletic program that allowed me to compete with a talented soccer team, develop lifelong friendships with teammates and coaches as well. And it helped, coming from out of state, that it was a great value, and to everyone's credit, it still is today. You know, I learned some life lessons from my time here that I still adhere to today. There's no substitution for hustle and hard work. Surround yourself with people smarter and different than yourself. It's not too hard for me to do. It sounds cliche, but it all comes down to people. Invest in people, and you'll get far more back in return. You know, when I talk to people, Marshall may be perceived as a bit of an underdog at times, and I relish that. I like that. It worked for the Herd this year. Nobody expected them to be winning a bowl game, or to beat a number 4 seed in basketball, or to have the soccer team beat nationally ranked teams. When I proudly share that I graduated from Marshall, people are quick to talk about the We Are Marshall movie, a tragic event from which strength and resilience were born, or some of our more famous athletes and esteemed business leaders. In summary, when I think of the Marshall future, I'm very optimistic. President Gilbert, we're fortunate to have your leadership here. You've assembled a world-class faculty and staff, and I compliment you on that. Thank you. That same character of nurturing, helping students to achieve their potential remains strong here today. Avi, we have a beautiful campus, but one thing's missing. I expect everybody in this room will follow your game plan to enable that new business school to become a reality sooner rather than later. I'm confident that you'll have Marshall becoming a nationally ranked business school, renowned for multiple studies. Avi shared with me just recently that our economics group just got ranked number 9th in the country. It's a great honor to hear that. I expect more of those as well. The leadership, support from alumni, and student passion will enable this to become a reality sooner rather than later. The culture here will live on, and Marshall will continue to become a destination for students around the world. In summary, thank you to the Marshall family for everything you did to enable us to be good global citizens and well prepared to pursue our passions. Thank you very much.
Wow. So 2 down, 2 to go. The first 2 have been phenomenal. So now you know what it's like to be on the advisory board and try to pick between all these great folks. And Steve says, well, wait a minute. Never mind. Our next inductee is also a fellow advisory board member that I drug kicking and screaming to the advisory board, and he has made such an incredible difference. Mr. Joe Holly.
Joe Holly is a West Virginia native, a licensed CPA, and 1970 graduate of Marshall University. After earning his bachelor's degree in business administration, he moved on to postgraduate studies in accounting and legal studies at Marshall, West Virginia University and the University of Charleston. In 1967, Joe began working as a staff accountant for Hayflitch and Steinberg, a Huntington-based accounting firm where he stayed until 1975. While maintaining his professional and family lives, he served his country in the United States Army Reserve from 1968 to 1974. Then in 1975, he became a part owner and executive at Jabo Supply Corporation, a leading distributor of pipe, valves, and fittings to a variety of industries in our region. Joe is a member of the American and West Virginia Societies of CPAs and has served on the State Society's Exam Support Committee as an exam proctor. He is a member of the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants organization in its FBS, tax, and IMTA sections. His professional certifications through the American Institute of Certified Professional Accountants include Certified Information Technology Professional, Certified in Financial Forensics, and Certified Global Managerial Accountant. Joe serves Marshall University as a board member for the Lewis College of Business. He is also a member of the National Association of Tax Professionals, as well as the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. His teaching and public speaking experience extend to both professional and civic activities. He has worked as a tax instructor for VITA programs in southern West Virginia and lecturing on financial literacy topics in the greater tri-state area. He has also taught professional, military, and civic organizations about the Heroes Earnings Assistance and Relief Tax Act and the Uniformed Services Employment and Reemployment Rights Act. Joe, who is an ordained Baptist deacon, has devoted much of his personal time to civic activities through the years. He represents the state of West Virginia on the IRS Taxpayer Advocacy Panel and is Chair Emeritus of the West Virginia Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve after serving as its chairman, Ombudsman Director, and Ombudsman. He received the organization's National Ombudsman of the Year Award in 2007. In the past, he's been a member of the Southwest Earned Income Tax Credit Committee in West Virginia and has served as an instructor for the IRS program offering income tax assistance and tax counseling for the elderly. Joe is a devoted husband to Rita Kate Holly, father to Jennifer, and grandfather to Cooper. For his long-standing commitment to his profession, his alma mater, and improving quality of life in his community, we extend Joe Holly a warm welcome to the Marshall University College of Business Hall of Fame.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Holly.
Good evening. As you can see from that video, my focus is heavily on family and faith. I want to thank Dr. Gilbert, Avi, Tony, and the entire LCOB board for this recognition. It's something that was totally unanticipated, unexpected, and really, I think, undeserved, but nevertheless, it's going to be appreciated and cherished for a long time. And I say that because I know lots of Marshall University graduates that are far more deserving than I am, but thanks anyway. This is not going to be a real long speech about things that I've done, but I'd rather share few principles that have helped me along the way, beginning with something that I learned from my wife. Coming from a piece of scripture in the 6th chapter of Matthew, and it reads, "And which of you, by being anxious, can add a single cubit to his lifespan? Therefore, don't be anxious for tomorrow. Tomorrow will care for itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own." Or the short version is, don't worry, be happy. And I say this because everyone in this room that is in business knows that he or she will be inundated with problems, challenges, and demands every day. A few will be significant, but in the long run, most of them not so much. But these perceived problems can weigh heavily on anyone that can't let them go. It's an easy thing to say, but exactly how do you go about doing that? For me, I believe that one must adopt a few basic principles when dealing with life's challenges, such as recognizing that failure isn't always a bad thing. Good ideas demand action. Risk, when calculated, is valuable. Humility leads to knowledge, which means you can never learn enough. And constant change in today's business environment is vital. So how does one go about putting these principles into action? I think you begin by prioritizing. Know what's important to you, and then do it well while learning from the experience. For me, it's simple. I've got 6, 3 primary and 3 secondary priorities. My primary consists of faith, family, and fitness. And the 3 secondary priorities are work, education, and volunteer activities. And although volunteer activities are at the bottom of my list, I'm going to share 2 of them that are close to my heart with you. The first is the IRS Taxpayer Advocacy Panel. This is a group of 65 members. We have at least one in every state. West Virginia only has one, and you're looking at him. And our mission is to improve customer service within the IRS. So if you have a suggestion or a comment, share it. It will get taken back to them. And the second that is more important to me is the Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve, ESGR. It's a Department of Defense organization that I've worked with for over 20 years now. And we provide a variety of support services to our Guard and Reserve personnel, things such as employment assistance, education assistance, health care, counseling, psychological services, employment mediation. And I say this because those of you that are prior service personnel or have family members that are in the service know that in the Guard and Reserve today, it's different than it was 40 years ago. It's no longer 2 weekends or 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks out of the summer. These young men and women are being deployed on a continuing basis throughout the world. And these deployments create hardships for the service member and hardships for their family. And we try and ease those hardships just a little working through ESGR. And in addition to working with the service members, we work with their employers to educate them on employment rights, USERRA, etc. And occasionally we get to invite these employers to go on what we call a boss lift. We'll load them up on a C-130 and fly them to a military facility somewhere in the continental U.S. and they get to see firsthand what these young men and women do, as opposed to thinking maybe they're off on a 2-week vacation. It's an eye-opening experience. Now, moving on, going back to the principles that I mentioned earlier, as long as I focus on the first 3, my faith and my family and my health, everything else seems to fall into place. And in closing, I'm going to share a piece of prose with you that was given to me by my grandson, Cooper, and my daughter, Jennifer. It was a part of his school project last year. And it reads, "Use the gifts that you are given in service and in love. Use the gifts that you are given to serve our God above. Use the gifts that you are given not for selfishness or pride. Use the gifts that you are given to praise the one who died." In conclusion, strive for excellence. It will get noticed. Thank you.
I want you to know, as in Joe's own words, how humble he is. When I called him to tell him that he was selected to be immortalized on the Hall of Fame, he said, "Tony, this is Joe Holly." True story. Congratulations. Appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce our final inductee tonight, and that is Mr. Steve Roberts. Steve, come on, please.
Huntington native Steve Roberts has enjoyed lifelong ties with Marshall University. As a 4-year-old boy, he sat with his mother while she took classes at the university, then saw his sister go on to earn 3 Marshall degrees. Early in his career, legendary Marshall University President Dr. Stuart H. Smith and Mrs. Evelyn Holberg Smith mentored Steve. Steve also taught at the Community College of Marshall University. Today, Steve serves as longtime president of the West Virginia Chamber of Commerce, where he puts his degrees in government and business administration from West Virginia Wesleyan College to work. The chamber has thrived under his leadership and was recently voted the #1 chamber in the country by the American Chamber of Commerce Executives. While with the chamber, Steve took a leading role in uniting the state's business community in 1986 to help pass the Freeport Amendment. He was also influential in building the coalition that helped repeal the state's long-outdated business and occupation tax. Moving forward, he expects to continue elevating the Chamber's reputation as an advocacy organization that provides strong statewide leadership. In addition to his role with the Chamber, Steve serves on the board of directors of Brick Street Mutual Insurance Company with Greg Burton, the company's executive chair and another of today's Marshall University College of Business Hall of Fame inductees. Before joining the West Virginia Chamber, Steve worked for the Huntington Regional Chamber as well as BASF Corporation. Among Steve's many community-related activities, he serves as president of Leadership West Virginia, chairman of the board of Jobs for West Virginia Graduates, and chairman of the board for the Craig Patton House Museum. He also serves on the boards of Huntington's Woodlands Retirement Community, the Foster Foundation, and the Slater Charitable Trust. Additionally, Steve is a founding member of the Jaeger Scholars Ground Crew, as well as the former chairman of the Huntington Policemen's Civil Service Commission. He is also a recipient of the Carter G. Woodson Award for work on behalf of African American job applicants. Steve lives in Charleston with his wife, Ann England Roberts, who's also a Marshall University graduate. Steve has 3 daughters and hopes to have yet another Marshall University graduate in the family someday soon. For his long association with Marshall University and dedication to helping West Virginia citizens and businesses prosper, we give Steve Roberts an enthusiastic welcome to the Marshall University College of Business Hall of Fame.
Steve, come up.
listening to these other presentations, I do not in any way feel that I deserve to be up here. But I do have a few remarks that I'm eager to share with you, and I promise to be brief. And I find myself with a touch of laryngitis, which for those of you who might have heard me speak before, will just affirm your faith that ours is a merciful God. My first memories of Marshall are of attending night classes with my mother. She loved school, and she returned to Marshall to complete her degree after her children were born and after several moves. She went on to graduate from Marshall with honors. I have very vivid memories of being at her graduation that was held at the Keith Albee Theater when I was in the 5th grade. As a family, we attended Marshall University events, especially football and basketball games. And we, as a family, gathered at the Memorial Field House on the Sunday night after the Marshall plane crash for the memorial service that, for those of us who were there, was a very unforgettable and moving event. I too had the opportunity to go to Marshall, and I followed others in my family. During my time at Marshall, I was proud to be part of the American Bicentennial Debate Team. And as I thought about it, I know that Jean Simmons is here in the room in the back, and Jean made the trip back from her school to help support me in that effort. I was 18, and I can assure you I needed that support. I was an inexperienced debater, but I was honored to be asked, and I really enjoyed the opportunity. Now, I have to tell you, I was demolished when the British professor from Oxford opened his rebuttal to me with these words. I'll never forget hearing them and being completely stunned by them. He said, "Steve's argument is like your Mississippi River, big at the mouth, but small at the head." Ouch. How do you recover from a line like that? Those Oxford guys. My dad and I, my father is here. My father is 92 years old, and I'm so proud of him, and I'm so pleased that he is here. And my dad, thank you. My dad and I were good at playing lots of games, including word games, and some that taught me about business. One evening, he came home and said, "Son, what would you say if I said airline stocks are soaring?" I thought about it a little bit, and I answered, and this is for Earl and Nancy, who are sitting here in front of me. I thought about it, and I answered, wheat stocks make dough. That was the beginning, I think, of my business career. We, from time to time, would have lengthy dialogues that would go along the lines of, he might say something like, cattle futures lead to beefy returns. And I would answer, pork bellies bring in the bacon. And so now the people who work with me know where my sort of goofy sense of humor and love for corny jokes probably originated. You can thank my 92-year-old father who's sitting here. My first jobs were literally found by using the Marshall University Placement Office. I had a summer job at the West 14th Street Boys Club, and that has turned into lifelong friendships and memories for me. I was also hired by the Huntington, West Virginia Chamber of Commerce because I was using the Marshall Placement Office, and I came to the placement office, and for those of you who might remember Reggie Spencer, Reggie said they're looking for somebody at the Huntington Chamber of Commerce, and you might fill the bill. And it turned out that Frank Hanshaw Jr. interviewed me for that job, and I was hired, and that really is what has gotten me on the track to a career. over time, as the film, I think, as the very fine film from Charles Ryan Associates indicated, I've held various roles with Marshall. It was Dale Nitschke and Nancy Francis who asked me to play a role with a new program that was being created at Marshall called the Society of Jaeger Scholars. And I was, as you might have seen, the first chairman of the Society of Jaeger Scholars Ground Crew. The Huntington Chamber, when I was at the Huntington Chamber, worked relentlessly, and I mean relentlessly, to get the Marshall Stadium, a football stadium, built. I had the honor of working at the Huntington Chamber for 11 years, and then Tom Boggs from BASF took a chance on me and gave me a job that I worked at for 3 years. But toward the end of the 3 years, BASF was having me spend a lot of time in New Jersey. And I came home one day and said to my lovely and beautiful wife, about whom I will say more in just a moment, that a very nice opportunity had been presented to us, and that we would have the opportunity to move to the corporate headquarters of BASF Corporation in New Jersey. And after that, things got rather quiet around our house. And so it wasn't long after that that I began looking for another job. And with the help of Phil Klein, who called Lance West today to say that he couldn't be here, but with the help of Phil Klein, I was offered the job of working at the West Virginia Chamber of Commerce, which has been my career for the last 26 years. Now I have to share with you, some of my friends in Huntington, many of whom had perhaps a sense of humor similar to that of my father and me, decided to hold a roast. And the first thing they jumped up and said is, "Hey everybody, guess what? Great news. Steve has taken a new job as captain of the Titanic." Greg, I think, alluded to that in his conversation about the challenges that we've had with workers' compensation in West Virginia. I'm honored to be joined by Joe Holly and Jim Dayton and Greg Burton. And if we ever think it can't be done, we only need to follow the example of Greg Burton. When I began my job, and I believe me, folks, I have spent a lot of time thinking about and working on workers' comp issues. And when I began my job, and really for about the first 10 years in my role, workers' comp costs were by far our state's biggest business challenge. We were number one in cost in the United States, as sort of like the referee that Greg made mention of. We were 26 times the national average in permanent total disability awards, and that is an awful place to be. It caused enormous cost for employers. Greg's leadership has turned all that around. We are now first where we used to be last. Workers' comp costs are down. Claimants, importantly, are receiving better, faster care, and Brick Street is a national success story. So Greg, Kevin, thank you very much for the work you are doing. I would say to you, there is no better success story in West Virginia, no story that we ought to tell more than what has been accomplished by Greg Burton and Brick Street. Greg, thank you for what you've done. Now finally, as I thank Greg, my heart turns to gratitude for my family, my father, of whom I've made mention, my sister, about whom the film, somebody went back and I guess looked up her record. She graduated from Marshall so many times I think I quit going to the ceremonies. My niece, who is sitting at the table with us, also a Marshall grad. I have a very loving wife of whom I am so proud, who, by the way, is a Marshall University. Terrible story here in her family. They've really never forgiven me for this. Anne was somewhere else in school. And we started going out, and the next thing you know what happened? She told her dad she wanted to come back to Huntington and go to Marshall. he kind of did this, and he said, "It's about that boy, isn't it?" And I've actually been out of favor ever since, but that's sometimes life is like that. I also want to acknowledge my work family, all of whom have made a really special effort to be here today. The folks who are here with whom I work started their work day around 5 a.m. this morning. Today was the day of the West Virginia Chamber's annual Human Resource Conference. We had a record crowd, a terrific program. We're honored to have students from Marshall University present. And so I want to take just a moment and introduce and recognize these folks. And I'm going to start with John Canfield and his wife. Now hear me on this. His wife, Diana Gullickson Canfield. I think most of us in this room know what that means. But further, John and Diana are the parents of two very fine sons, one of whom happens to be a Jaeger Scholar and the first from his high school to be awarded a Jaeger Scholar. So we are so proud of Ben and Alex Canfield. And John and Diana, thank you. Sitting next to Diana is Kathy Thomas. Kathy is who keeps all of us straight. We couldn't get it done without Kathy. Thank you for everything you do. Amanda Pasden is going to be embarrassed when I tell you that she is expecting her second child. She has been on her feet a very long time today. This can't be particularly easy for her, but Chris has been very understanding and is eager for Amanda to get to spend this evening here with us at Marshall. So Amanda, thank you very, very much. And Brian Dayton has moved, but I also want to recognize Brian, who is an outstanding young person and a great addition to our team at the West Virginia Chamber of Commerce. There are so many people who have helped make me who I am. One of the things that I'm so proud of Greg and Jim and Joe for pointing out is that really all of us stand on the shoulders of giants. I think I in no way deserve this honor or this recognition, but I will tell you I am extremely grateful for it. I'm extremely pleased to have had the opportunity to be with so many of you here this evening. I'm so pleased that Phil Klein, who has been such an enormous influence in my life and a great friend and mentor, called and extended his regrets for being unable to be with us. I am so honored that David Hayden, who I have the pleasure of being with every Thursday morning, because David and I are in a Bible study together, and we meet, get this, we meet starting at about 6:15 on Thursday mornings, and David and I would not miss it for the world. We love each other's company. David, I love you and thank you for being here. I appreciate you so, so much. Thank you very much. Finally, it's okay, you can applaud. I want to thank this world-class university, its world-class president, and all of you who do so much to support the great work here of Marshall University. I know Bill Bissett, Dr. Bill Bissett, was one of your greatest boosters. I think Bill is in the greatest possible role, both for us and for you and for him. And Bill, thank you for that. This is a world-class operation. Dr. Gilbert is a world-class leader, and we appreciate him. Abraham Lincoln said, "I am a success today because someone believed in me and I didn't want to let him down." That certainly is true of me, and I thank you for this evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Rhodes. One last round of applause before we move on with the program. Please join me and a round of applause for these 4 incredible Americans. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to invite our president, Dr. Jared Gilbert, up for some comments.
Good evening. I want to thank Avi Mukherjee and Tony Martin and all of those on the selection committee and all of those who made this program possible tonight. Since 1995, the Lewis College of Business has recognized the leadership and support of its alumni with the Hall of Fame induction. And we could not be more proud of these sons and daughters of Marshall. But before I say something about the honorees, I want to say something about the college. I was with Bob Simpson, Avi Mukherjee, and others last week as we saw 20 student groups compete in the BB&T Economic Research Symposium at the Clay Center in Charleston. I can tell you it was fantastic. That event and last year's Intuit Design for Delight Challenge and many other recent events are clear proof that the College of Business is on the rise. Would you agree? I want to thank Bob Simpson, who served as our interim dean, and our new dean, Avi Mukherjee, and the faculty of the Lewis College of Business, who have turned things around for the College of Business. As you know, being inducted into the Lewis College of Business Hall of Fame is the greatest honor awarded to the business leaders by Marshall University. You should be very proud of that. I feel a special kinship and relationship with a number of the inductees tonight, and from my experience with them, I can say that we truly have a special class of inductees. Greg Burton has been so generous to Marshall University through Brick Street. I've had the honor of meeting with Greg and talking about his vision for the philanthropic arm of Brick Street. It is community focused and impactful, and Brick Street has supported a number of very important projects at Marshall, and they continue to consider unique opportunities to make a difference at Marshall. Greg, we are very appreciative of your leadership and your support at Marshall University. Now, Jim Dayton is truly an inspirational guy. As we talk to our students at Marshall University about being on the cutting edge of technology, we can point to Jim Dayton and people like him who are in the biotech industry. I've been around Jim and have come to admire and respect him. We share a common tie to North Carolina since I spent a lot of years in Durham, Raleigh, and Chapel Hill. Thank you for being such a great role model for the College of Business, Jim. Joe Hawley has been a strong supporter of the Lewis College of Business in many ways, including his service on the advisory board. His list of professional affiliations and experience is extremely long. In reading his bio, I paid special attention to his being an ombudsman. This is a position that requires a lot of patience, even-handedness, good sense, and compassion. He has a ton of admirable traits, and he is very worthy of this honor. We're proud to have you in the Hall of Fame. Steve Roberts may reside in Charleston, but his heart is in Huntington, and I know that. I know that he still talks fondly of growing up in Huntington. He is, of course, president of the West Virginia Chamber of Commerce and a person who commands the respect of many people in West Virginia. People in my family would give Steve the title of a true Southern gentleman because he is warm, he's genuine, and he's an individual who knows the value of honor and duty. He's taught at Marshall, and he's always been a strong supporter of this university and the Lewis College of Business. Steve, thank you, and Ann, for your friendship and your support. I want to congratulate all four of you. I'm proud of you all. I think this is indeed a very special class. In closing, I want to address all of our supporters of Marshall who are here tonight. We have turned the corner in Huntington, and we have taken control of the future. With the assistance of the federal, state, local, and MU law enforcement personnel, we have rounded up and arrested the criminal element in this city, and we are a safer community. Even before the roundup, violent crime in Huntington was down 24%, and overdoses are down 36% in the first 3 months of 2018. I mention this tonight because the future of Marshall is strongly tied with the future of Huntington. We are invested in our community and it in us. I am proud of how we have responded to the issues in our city and how Marshall is helping. I call this My Huntington, which you can use #MyHuntington. I ask all of Marshall supporters to help us in several fronts. Help us spread the good news about Huntington and about Marshall University. Tell people about the successes of the College of Business and about Marshall University. Tell alumni from the College of Business that in the upcoming comprehensive campaign that we are planning to raise funds to build a new building for the College of Business. And we're going to need their help. Tell your friends and acquaintances that you are a proud supporter of Marshall, a proud son or daughter of Marshall. Tell them that a new day has dawned for Huntington, for the Lewis College of Business, and for our beloved university. Tell them Marshall is rising. Good evening, and God bless Marshall University and all its sons and daughters. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gilbert. Ladies and gentlemen, before I introduce our last speaker tonight, I have a story. Quick story, but a story. In late summer of 2016, I got a phone call from Dr. Gilbert. And he said, Tony, I would like for you to be on a very small committee, the search committee for a new dean for the business school at Marshall University. I said, yes, sir. So we met. We had 36 potential candidates to be our new dean. We went through those 36 applications and came down to 9. And the first week of December a year ago, we went to Charlotte, North Carolina, and we interviewed 5 on Saturday, 4 on Sunday, and we came back with a recommendation for 3. We interviewed Avi on Saturday. As soon as he left the room, I looked at our third party, who was the same third party that Marshall used to get Dr. Gilbert. So he was fairly well qualified, we think. But I said to him, I said, can we afford this guy? Honest to God, I'm telling you the truth. And he said, they assure me we can. So ladies and gentlemen, to verify their statement that we can, let me introduce our current Dean of the Business School, Dr. R.V. Mukherjee.
Good evening. Thank you, Commodore Martin. I want to assure you that I belong to the Henry VIII School of Public Speaking. I say, as Henry VIII would have said to his wives, I shall not keep you long. Let me start by thanking the entire Lewis College of Business extended family, our advisory board, members of our University Board of Governors, our alumni, our students, faculty, staff, university leadership, corporate partners, community leaders, friends and family. Thank you for joining us tonight to celebrate our biggest night, the Business Hall of Fame. At this time every year, we are especially thankful to you all, as the support that you give us underpins the greatest responsibility the Lewis College of Business shares, to provide for the state-of-the-art business education and training to the next generation of managers, leaders, and entrepreneurs, and in the process create engagement with the world of business, innovation in the classroom, and impact on the community. Tonight marks a very special moment in further defining the LCOB's legacy, a legacy that is represented by those who make up the Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame membership is the most prestigious honor granted by the Lewis College of Business. Almost over a quarter century, 105 outstanding individuals included in that roster have been recognized for achievements well above and beyond the calling that is our business management profession. Each one of these members in the Hall of Fame has raised the bar and has come to represent a standard of purpose and accomplishment from which those who serve our vision and mission take inspiration. Tonight, we added a new dimension to our legacy, and we celebrate the induction of 4 honorees into the Hall of Fame. Tonight is also a time to reimagine the future of the college. We are at the very early stages of conceptualizing our new College of Business building project. We will hear more about this in the next few months, and the campaign for the new building will be soon underway. Our accreditation has been reaffirmed for 4 more years, putting us in the top 1.5% of global business schools that are dually accredited by AACSB in both business and accounting. Thanks to the strong support from President Gilbert, Provost Ormiston, Dr. Ron Area, and others in the university, our college is getting more recognition and higher ranking. We will be launching several new online programs following the new Marshall Online MBA, which has already been launched this spring. Our student research and faculty research are being supported, recognized, and encouraged. Our faculty and staff are working on several strategic initiatives at this point. In addition, we are investing in experiential learning, global education, study abroad, and STEM business programs. We are also in the initial stages of designing a doctoral program in business. More than 25 students from the College of Business this year received full support to attend national competitions and conferences and represented us with flying colors. We want more of our students to step outside of their comfort zone and gather unique learning experiences that will transform their lives and careers. We need your support to grow our experiential learning initiatives. You will see some envelopes on your tables. Most importantly, our reimagined future is contingent on the support from each one of you, our stakeholders, who are right at the heart of our success. Business is the most powerful force for economic and social impact. It is the mission of Marshall University and the Lewis College of Business to develop the next generation of business leaders. But the world of business is changing fast, and so is the world of business education. We are committed to innovate and engage with the external community in and around Huntington and Charleston to remain relevant and contribute to economic development and prosperity in our region. This reflects the vision of President Gilbert. The Lewis College of Business will celebrate its 50th anniversary in 2019, and the campaign for the next 50 will start soon with a big birthday bash in April next year. The ultimate metric of a business school's success is the extent to which we engage with our diverse external stakeholders. For the alumni and other stakeholders among us here tonight, I thank you for taking the time to come back. I hope you will consider becoming more involved in our school community as opportunities arise this year and beyond. Our college and our students are enhanced by your experience, your wisdom, and your leadership. I want you to be involved with us as much as your time allows, and my door will always be open for you. I look forward to meeting each of you personally, listen to you carefully, and work with you closely to take Marshall and the Lewis College of Business to greater heights. As always, I welcome your ideas, your enthusiasm, and your support. Thanks for joining us in celebrating the Business Hall of Fame tonight. Go Herd.
Thank you, Avi. If you have not had an opportunity to spend any time with Dr. Mukherjee, or Avi as we affectionately call him, please do. He's our future for the business school. And we have all the pieces in place to build the new business facility, to raise the business school to the world-class level that we all desire it to be. All the pieces are in place. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes tonight's ceremony. Thank you so much for coming, and we thank you for your support. Thank you.